guys, welcome back to John's Workshop, and in this video we're going to be doing something completely different from what I normally do. So, and I know I did say, I think it was my last blether video, that this channel isn't going to turn into a product review channel, but I have got a product review to do, and this is a pucker product review. So I've been sent something, so I'll bring you in at the bench now and we'll get into what's been sent. We'll take that a stage further into sort of how it operates, how it works, and what my general feelings and thoughts on it are following that. So I'll bring you in at the bench and we'll have a bit of a look at what's arrived. Okay, so package turned up. I've had some email traffic backwards and forwards. So this has been sent to me by a gentleman called Jim Enos, or Enos. Apologies Jim if I've mispronounced that. So Jim owns, I believe, or certainly works for, or owns a company in, I believe it's Massachusetts in the States, called Tangent Engineering, and lots of you may already have heard of that, may already have seen other reviews that have been done on this similar product. So we'll just get the box open and have a look what's inside. So it's well wrapped. So we'll peel the wrapping back. I think it's fairly obvious what this is already. Well, a free gift as well, look. So Quill wheel, www.quillwheel.com. So there we go. So this is a Quill wheel for my milling machine. So Jim's kindly popped a mug in there as well. Thank you, Jim. So we'll just pull this out. So very well packed, and here's the unit itself. And some of you may have already seen these in operation, and some of you may not. So that's the wheel itself. So we've got a anodized aluminium centre by the looks of it. Very soft grip, very soft grip wheel, and it's a lot heavier than I was expecting it to be, actually. A lot more robust than I thought it looked from the pictures. So heavy, robust, and yeah, very solid. So some discussion around this. So I've seen these being used on milling machines on various different channels, and I'm going to be totally honest now, I've always thought that looks bloody horrible, because it's just, and what I mean by that is, I'm so used to seeing milling machines like mine with the 3-spoke thing on, and this just looks so alien to me, because all the machines I learnt on, all the machines I've worked in industry, none of them have had this type of thing on it. So it does look particularly alien, and I guess because it looks so much like what you would find sat in the driving seat of a car, not working a milling machine. So when Jim first approached me, I thought about it for a little while, and I've often seen other people using these, and I've just thought, nah, it's just not for me. It's not traditional, it's not how a milling machine should look, it's not what a milling machine should have on it. So I was going to go back to Jim and say, look, thank you very much, but no thanks, not for me, but thanks for the offer. And I sat there and gave it some more consideration, and I do try to be open-minded with everything, because I think you learn far quickly if you've got that state of mind. And I gave it some thought, and I thought, well, when I look at every other machine that I've got in my workshop, and every other machine that I've worked, with the exception of a pillar drill potentially, but if I look at every other machine, my centre lathe, my surface grinder, my engraving machine, doesn't matter what machine you want to pick, and look at all of the axes, and especially the axes where you've got fine motor movements, what do they have on them? Well, they have wheels on them, every single one of them. They have a wheel, hand wheel for all of the axes, and I thought, yeah, none of them have 3-spoke wheels, do they? They have proper wheels. And the more I thought about it, I just kind of thought, did we actually miss a trick when we put this 3-spoke thing on milling machines and pillar drills at some point in the past? Because we put circular hand wheels on everything else other than that particular axis on a machine. And there's good reason for it, and we'll come on to that in a short while when we go to the milling machine. And then I thought, well, what about if we look at this problem in reverse completely, what about if I took my steering wheel off my car and put a 3-spoke wheel on it and did my daily commute in and out of work? How easy would that be? Or how difficult would that be? And the more I thought about it, the more I thought I just wouldn't be able to drive a car like that, because the way I drive, you get used to holding the wheel. So I thought, no, I'm open-minded enough, we're going to give this a shot, despite the fact it just seems so alien. And when I look at the YouTube channels that I look at, you know, a lot of the guys in the States have done this mod. When I look at the UK YouTubers that I follow, and I don't follow all of them, so I can't speak for everybody, but certainly the main guys that I follow, none of them have gone down this route. And I thought, well, let me, of the ones that I watch and subscribe to, I'm just going to go first and see what this is actually like. So had a bit of back and forth with Jim, and this is the net result. This has turned up. So what we'll do now is we'll move to the milling machine and we'll switch this over, which should take less than a minute. We'll get it on the machine, and then we'll do a bit of playing around with it and see what we think. Okay, so why do we have this 3-spoke thing on a milling machine? I really need to take my vise off for this demonstration, but for what I'm doing, I'm not going to take all the vise off and set it up. We can talk through it. So I've dropped my head down as far as I can. Let's assume I dropped it down even further. Let's assume I'm using a collet directly into the spindle with a short end mill, and I've dropped the head down onto something quite thin that's bolted to the table of the milling machine. You can quite clearly see what's going to happen here. This leg, or one of the legs at any particular point, is going to hit the table surface, or it's going to hit the job that's sat on the table. So the whole idea of the 3-legged milling machine handle is, it's fairly obvious, I don't need to do it to show you, but you get the idea already, I'm sure. If you're faced with that particular issue, you unscrew the leg that's in the way, or 2 legs that are in the way. You can still operate the quill because you've still got handles still left, so you've got that flexibility with this. Now if I just go and get the wheel, so the wheel is slightly smaller diameter than the 3-legged spoke wheel, but clearly you can see there, if I've got that same issue, I'm restricted by how far I can drop the head, and that's the difference, and that's, you know, that's the main reason behind the design of the 3-spoke leg. I'll just go and put this back. So that's the reason for the 3-spoke leg, or 3-spoke wheel, hand wheel, whatever we want to call it, quill feed wheel. I'm sure there's a million different names we can give that. I've probably used most of them already. So if I now look at my machine again, in real terms, most of the work I do is with the vise on, largely, or the majority of it. And most of the work I do, I'm either got a chuck in the spindle, or I've got a collet chuck in the spindle, because I've got this is a Morse Taper 4 spindle, and as yet I've not managed to source any Morse Taper 4 collets that will go directly into the spindle, even though I am looking, because I do want to go down that route. As yet I've not really found anywhere where I can get hold of some of those, and to be fair, I've not searched that hard yet, but they're not readily available. So most of my work, this head never gets down this far. It's normally up at least 3 inches, 4 inches from this, which is 75, 100mm higher. So this foul condition that we've just talked about there, I've never experienced it, and I may experience it at some point. And I guess if I get to that point where I do experience it, this changeover, as I'm going to demonstrate in a minute, looking at how it fits, is less than a minute. So I hang on to the 3-spoke wheel. If I get to that situation, a minute's work, swap them over. I've got the flexibility to be able to remove the legs or leg that's in the way of whatever's on the table. So that's, I just wanted to cover that before we start. So what we'll do now, I'll go and get the wheel and we'll do the changeover real time onto the mill. Okay guys, we'll go for the changeover. So this is as I've normally got it. So we'll just go and crack on now and we'll do this changeover and we'll see how easy or difficult that is. I'm expecting it to be very easy. So that's my three-legged hand wheel off. Take the quill wheel, drop the spring in there. Now what came in the bag is a key. Now I'm not sure whether I need that key or whether the key that I've already got is going to fit, so we'll just try that for a start. In fact, we'll drop the spring in here. And let's just see whether that fits on that key. I may need to pop the other key in, don't know. Yeah, looks like I do, so it's a different size keyway. So we'll just remove that key and put the other one in. Right guys, we've tweaked the key a little bit more. It was a bit too high, so we've just thinned that out. It's now the right size. So we'll drop the spring in there. No, that's not going to work. We'll drop the spring in here. There we go. We'll drop the wheel on. And that's the fit. So minus the resizing of the key, I think that changeover is probably less than a minute, if I'm honest. So I'm just going to bag my other key up so I know where it is, so I don't lose it, the original one. And I'll bring you back in a minute and I'm just going to have a play around with this a little bit myself, and I'll bring you back and give you my thoughts. So I've been having a bit of a play around, not machining anything as such yet, but just getting a feel for this thing. And one thing that's immediately apparent is when I first got hold of it, I thought, oh, this is a bit weird, because how do I... And then I realised that that's exactly what you do with a 3-spoke wheel, is you pull it down and then you've got to try and... what I typically do is if I'm using the 3-spoke wheel, I'll pull it down, try and jam my elbow in on the spoke that's gone down, and then try and get hold of the next one and pull it round if I'm clocking something long or I'm drilling a deep hole. And that's typical of the 3-spoke wheel. That's how they are. And it felt a bit strange to start with, and then I thought, well, what about if I get hold of the centre bit and start trying to do this? And I thought, well, no, that's no different to a 3-spoke wheel, because I've still got to try and find the next one. And then I went back to the car analogy and thought, how do I actually drive my car? And what I typically do, not always, but what I'll typically do, is I just put pressure on the side here and just roll around like this. And that's the full scope of the quill travel, controlled up and down quite easily. Now, I don't think you could probably drill like that with the pressure on the side, I don't know, we'll try that. But for drilling, if you're into a hole, as a two-handed operation, it's all there. It's all there right in front of you. You're not reaching for that next handle to come around. It's all right at the front of the mill, where you want it. You can let that's another thing you can't do. I don't like to let the quill go under its full spring pressure and thump up to the top. And with a hand wheel, you can't do that. You've got to literally wind it back up again with a hand wheel, with a 3-spoke wheel. So off the bat already, I'm starting to see quite a lot of benefits of this. It feels a bit strange, but it will do for a while. But yeah, I'm I'm seeing some, especially for clocking, you know, if you're clocking something in the vise and you want to clock it with the quill, which sometimes you do if you're trying to square your head up, or you're doing something that you've got a test bar in and you want to clock up and down the length of the test bar using the spindle, you can actually just roll that straight up and down in one smooth movement without needing to be reaching for that next spoke. Nice and easy. So initial impressions are, I can see some benefits of this, and I guess the big question is, what does it feel like drilling holes? So what we'll do next is we'll set the mill up, we'll find a bit of scrap, and we'll give it a test, putting some holes in something and see what the feel's like through the actual unit, what the sort of feeling is, sensitivity wise. I've checked it with the fine feed, and that works, you know, just as it did before, so that's fine. That was the bit I was concerned around originally, and I went back to Jim. What I'd actually looked at on his website, he'd given me a couple of video links actually to YouTube where these had been fitted to Bridgeports, and obviously the Bridgeport fine feed wheel is nothing to do with this quill hand, it's something separate over on the other side of the machine, and that was my concern. I couldn't see how this would work. Looking at the Bridgeport one, it didn't have this, obviously it doesn't have this spring-loaded clutch mechanism here to engage the fine feed. But Jim then popped me another couple of videos into my inbox for me to go and have a look at. One of them a guy called Dieter in Austria who's done this on his mill, and I've never come across Dieter's channel before, so that was a good find. Enjoying watching Dieter's channel and his videos, and if I remember, I'll post a link to that in the bottom of this video, and go and have a look at Dieter's channel. Quite a interesting character, with a brilliant sense of humour actually. So anyway, digressing. So what we'll do is I'll get the mill set up, I'll put the chuck in the spindle, we'll get some material and we'll pop some drills in, and we'll give this a go, see what we think. Right then guys, we're just over at the mill and I'm just getting it set up to do a bit of a trial with this, and in getting it set up I needed to lift the head up a bit further because I've put the chuck back in now. And one instant benefit that I've just found with this straight off the bat is, when I was winding my head up and down previously on the mill, I had to have the spindle with the three legs in exactly the right place, otherwise when I was winding this I'd be cracking my hand on the back leg that was sticking down here because it got in the way. And I've just looked at this now and I've not got that issue anymore, so that's gone away, and so I'm pleased with that. I think as I get right down really low it might start interfering again, but largely I don't go down much lower than where we are now, and there's plenty of space at the minute to get past that, so happy with that. So I'm just going to get set up. We've got a piece of mild steel in the vise. Now again, being a newly set up shop, I don't have lots of material kicking about for just drilling holes and stuff in, so this is a tiny bit of offcut that I've got, and that's all I'm going to do for now. I'm not a big fan of just wasting material for the sake of it, because I don't have a lot to go at the minute because there's not lots of bits kicking around. So what I'm going to do is just pop a couple of holes in here. We're going to go for a very small hole, sort of 3.5, I think 4mm, something like that, 3.5 I think it was, to get a feel for this with a small hole to see what the sensitivity is like, and then we'll stick a 6mm hole in there next to that. It's just mild steel and it's probably about 40mm thick, so I'm going to go right through the full 40mm. So I'll just get set up for that and I'll bring you back. Alright guys, we're set up. I'm going to do a more distant shot because what's not important is looking at a hole being drilled. What's more important is watching the action on the new wheel. So I'm just going to we'll go for the small hole first and see how that goes. Well, I like that. There's a lot of sensitivity. I was wondering whether I was going to be able to put as much, just holding it quite gently, put as much pressure into the cup, but I can put far more in than I need to be putting in, certainly for a drill of that size. So that all felt good. So we'll just pitch along and we'll put a 6mm hole in and see how that goes. It's a bit bigger. I do like that. I like the return element of that, where you can just let the quill gently go back up without needing to be sort of winding it back up as I did previously to stop it banging. I did push that drill quite hard just to see, with one hand how much pressure I could get into that, and that's as much material wastage as I'm going to do for now, so I'm happy with that. It's a lot different and a lot better than I thought it was going to be. So I'll just cut this here, we'll go back to the bench and we'll wrap this first element of this up. So what I'm planning to do is I'm going to run with this for 3 or 4 months now and give it a proper test over a range of jobs and a range of tools and a range of different applications, and then we'll do an update review based on that experience, probably in one of my blether videos or something. So we'll just come back to the bench and we'll wrap this video up. So there we go, guys, that's probably my very first product review, as I would classify it, where somebody's actually sent me something, and again, I probably didn't cover this at the start, so just to be totally clear, Jim sent me this completely free of charge to try out, and that was how it was sent. And I said that Jim didn't even ask me to do a review of it. He just said, I've got a quill wheel with your name on it, I think you'll enjoy it. So I said, obviously, because I've got the channel, I'll absolutely do that on the channel, give my thoughts, my interpretations of it and what I think of it, and I'll be totally honest, and Jim was fine with that. And in fact, the language Jim actually used in his email to me was, if you don't like it, go and stick it on a go-kart. He's so confident that I was going to get on with it, far more confident than I was, to be honest, but he's got the experience, and this is the first time I've touched one of these things. So there we go. We'll just show that again. So www.quillwheel.com. Anybody who's not seen this, go and have a look. Go and check Jim's channel out. Go and check some of the other guys that use this system out. Mainly a lot of the sort of US guys and Australian guys have made this conversion already, and I guess most of you who watch me will know who they are, who the suspects are on that. So yeah, overall, as an initial impression, this isn't a full product review, as I said, I'm going to do that over time, but as an initial impression, I'm totally kind of the opposite of what I thought I was going to be. I honestly didn't think I was going to get on with this, and that's probably why in the first instance I was going to just refuse the offer to try it in the first place. But having just used that just now, and at the end of the day, it's a minute. If I ever get to the point where I'm not liking it, it's a minute to switch it back, so nothing lost. But in terms of what I've just been through there, I do like it. I like the feel of it. There's lots of sensitivity through it. There's lots of less trying to find that next handle round and messing around. The return back up the quill when you've drilled a hole is very good with this, very easy to use. And as I pointed out before, for clocking, if you want to use the full extent of the quill, very easy to wind the thing up and down without having to keep reaching for that next handle coming round. So lots of benefits, and we will give it a good test over, as I said, a period of a few months, and see. We'll do an update in one of our blether videos or something in a few months, and we'll wrap that up as a final. Is it going to stay on the mill, or is it not going to stay on the mill? But certainly for now, it's going to go back on the mill and stay on there for the next 3 or 4 months, and we'll see how we get on. So I hope that was interesting, something a little bit different. As I say, it's not really my thing, doing product reviews and stuff, but something a little bit different. I thought it was worthy of filming and putting out there in case there's any of you guys who've not seen this yet and it's something that you want to pursue and look into yourselves. And I think Jim makes these. So obviously one thing I didn't cover, obviously this has got I think it's Delrin or something similar that feels like Delrin. It's got the right Delrin fitting for my 7045 machine. Jim also makes them for Bridgeport clones and various other different mills, so he's got the right adapter to fit whatever mill that is. So yeah, it's worth going and having a look, go and try it, and as I said at the start, keep an open mind, all of you, because it's, I've been guilty in the past of not having an open mind, only through my own self-reflection, probably guilty, but I do try and be open-minded also, because there's so much good stuff out there that if you're not willing to pick it up and give it a try, you're never really going to know whether it's good or bad. So based on what I've seen, happy with that. Alright, we'll leave it at that. We'll catch you all very soon on another video when we'll be back into manufacturing, probably on the mill and probably using the Quill wheel.